oppression, and prejudice from political, corporate, and media institutions. Detroit communities have faced marginalization, oppression, and prejudice from political, corporate, and media institutions. At times, Detroit community voice is silenced and ignored by those in power. Public comment provides us a platform to speak out and make our voices heard. By sharing our perspectives and experiences, we can challenge the status quo and bring attention to issues that affect our community. Public comment is especially important in the political arena. Through voting, activism, and advocacy, we can use our voices to push for change. Strengthening our social capital by amplifying community voice builds a structure for any and everything that impacts our community, to begin by starting with collaborating equitably with our community. Public comment is not just about politics. It's about speaking out in all areas of life, from education and healthcare to housing and employment, culture and race, business and opportunity. By sharing our stories and experiences, we can expose the injustices and discrimination that still exists in our society and work towards a more just and equitable future. And when we come together as a community to share our public comments, we can amplify our voices and create real change. We can hold those in power accountable and demand justice and equality for everything we deserve. Welcome to Public Comment by Detroit is Different. Every Tuesday, 7 a.m., live stream. All right. So, welcome to Public Comment by Detroit is Different. This is a new program we starting off. It will be Tuesdays at 7 a.m. This is Tuesday at like around lunchtime, but we got a special public comment to give for today and what we're working on and what we're doing. I got a special guest. This is something that I've definitely been paying a lot of attention to, and I'm sure you've been paying attention to it as well. We're talking about Highland Park and what's going on in the Highland Park water situation. We welcome back the good brother Khursheed. He is a city council member in Highland Park. Khursheed, how you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, and it's a pleasure to be back here.
Okay, well, it's definitely great to have you in the mix and working on different things. I think let's start off with just some different questions, just straight up about what's happening in Highland Park with the water. I have a presentation here that I definitely want to go through, and we're gonna address like some of the questions. And even before we get more so to the presentation, I really just want to talk about what's happening. What's happening with the water in Highland Park?
Okay, so what's happening right now is we had a court date that took place on the 20th of this month, in which Gleewa went back to the courts and asked the judge to remove the restraining order, which prevented them from shutting off Highland Park's water. And they also asked the judge to levy a $24 million bill to the residents of Highland Park on their tax rolls. Luckily for us, the judge did lift the restraining order, but he sent us back to the table to discuss the $24 million levy. The judge felt that the levy was too great to spread over such a small community, so he ordered us back to the table to reach an agreement by the end of May. And if we don't reach an agreement by the end of May, then he's going to bring us back and he's going to reach one for us. So basically, we're back at the table trying to work this issue out.
All right. So you talk about back at the table trying to work this issue out. The different things that I have already set to kind of like prompt and get us through for the presentation today is a series of different questions and some overview. So first, what's happening in Highland Park? You gave that. Will Governor Granholm emergency manage Highland Park again? That's another big question. That was something, as we know, big in what, when we look at the recent history, they look at Governor Snyder, but also we remember another Democratic governor of my mind just slipped. I don't know. I can't believe that I'm forgetting her name.
Granholm.
Get them for Granholm. But yeah, this is Gretchen Whitmer. So I guess I need to change that too.
Yeah.
So will Governor Whitmer change this?
Mhm.
Not Granholm. Also, what the community can do. So first things first, this is a public statement from the Great Lakes Water Authority. Highland Park City Council member Khursheed joins. So that's more so about public comment. Let's see what statement they have. Okay, so this was a public statement given Monday, April 17th, 2023, in response to Highland Park mayor's statement at the city council meeting. Okay, it has been reported to the Great Lakes Water Authority that a speculative statement has been made that the authority wants to shut off water service to the city of Highland Park. That statement is untrue and counterproductive. Great Lakes Water Authority hopes for the entire region that an amicable solution can be achieved in the near future. This is from Suzanne Coffey. She's the CEO of GLEWA, or Great Lakes Water Authority. So let's get a little bit into that statement. What was given in the first place? Because we saw the headlines. As I'm looking at the headlines that were given, this was April 20th. Deadline set for Highland Park. Great Lakes Water Authority to reach water payment plan. The city of Highland Park, this was from the Detroit News. The city of Highland Parks and the Great Lakes Water Authority have until May 31st to devise a plan on how residents and businesses in the small Wayne County community will begin to pay an estimated $24 million in water and sewage bill to the Suburban Water Authority. A judge said Thursday, the essential $24 million tab, the exact amount with interest, is still being determined. So that means that like it's in that amount, but also interest is going to be incurred upon this for the residents. That's what I'm reading in this story from just the headlines. Officials in the majority Black city already have said they don't see a way to pay off the debt in a community with per capita income of $19,000 and 41% poverty rate. Now, this has been always my whole concept of this from the beginning. It looks as if it's painting a picture of Highland Park residents being like irresponsible, not paying their bills on time, and just looking for a quote unquote handout in what would be. Like that's the way that this looks in the media currently.
That's right.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm unaware of this. I'm still finding out a lot about this myself. So that's why we're having this discussion. What happened in reference to like, was there an outstanding bill? That's the first question I have. And then when did Highland Park people know there was an outstanding bill?
Okay. So the question that you give was extremely good, and it's very broad. So allow me to touch on a few points. The actual amount is going to be more like $19 million. Okay. The interest is unenforceable when it comes to a levy according to state law. So they'll only be able to attach the principal to us. The interest is a non-starter. And with regards to them shutting off the water, that was a statement in which our mayor made, and maybe that may have been a misstatement, because it's my understanding when you're dealing with an agency that is unregulated, as GLEWA is, they're clearly unregulated.
Okay, wait. All right. When you say unregulated, what does that mean?
Unregulated means that they are not subject to oversight by any state or government entity while operating as they operate right now.
Okay, now if my understanding of the Great Lakes Water Authority when it was comprised is it's a collection of like it's Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County all coming together to share water service. Well, from my Detroiter lens, is basically so that these counties can get access to the water in Detroit.
Well, they're all a part of it, but the truth of the matter is the Great Lake Water Authority stands on its own. Okay.
So when you say it stands on its own,
they're a private entity.
it's an independent
Yeah.
entity.
It is
It's
a private entity.
what do they call that?
Yeah.
Non-government organization.
Exactly.
NGO. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you understand that Gleewood, I understand that they're here to make money. It's about making money. I totally understand that, you know. But yeah, you know, the fastest way to causing a problem for somebody that's unregulated is to create a public health crisis. Okay.
Mhm.
So you know, I do agree that that this statement about them shutting off the water, this is something that I'm pretty sure that wouldn't happen, because the fastest way that you can get to being regulated for somebody that's being unregulated is to create a public health crisis, as as what happened in Flint, you know. And if you pay attention to the history of people who have been unregulated, you'll understand that when they created a public health crisis, they ended up being regulated afterwards. So Gleewood is enjoying the fact that they're unregulated. I don't think they're going to walk down that path of shutting off our water to become regulated. You know, that just makes no sense on their behalf. Yeah. So yeah, you know, so that statement may have been um a misstatement, and I agree with that. But the bottom line is we need to come back to the table. I do believe that the Great Lakes Water Authority is more than willing to work with the city of Highland Park to reach a point where we can both be satisfied in our arrangement and our agreement with the Great Lake Water Authority. And I do believe that this is an opportunity for the city of Highland Park to come out in a better light than what is standing right now.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, better light, and then I'm regulated. It's this definitely does not necessarily look like it's what the media is portraying it.
Yeah.
Because the media is portraying it as if, you know, it's just like shiftless people not paying their bills. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, the
And,
truth of the matter is,
you know,
most of the residents of Highland Park have been paying their water bills. We have over 90% turnout of residents in the city of Highland Park who are paying their water bills, and they're paying them faithfully every month with no problems. Okay.
and they're paying the bill in
Yeah.
full.
Yeah.
So also in this, so basically this seems like, was it like a error on the behalf of the Great Lakes Water Authority? Are they just turning out and saying like, hey,
Okay.
you know, we did charge you 100,
Mhm.
my bad, we were supposed to charge you 300? Like,
Okay.
what's the
Okay.
how does this impact the direct resident
Okay. So
for this?
okay. So when we first got to this point, from what I have been able to assess so far, somebody somewhere in 2021, in April of 2021, thought it was a bright idea to stop paying Gleewood. This is what brought this matter to a head. We were under a payment arrangement with the Great Lake Water Authority, and somebody from the administration decided, hey, we're not going to pay anymore. Which the judge had made it clear to us that if we stop paying, it would bring this judgment back and bring it to a head. So this is where we are right now. Okay. You know, so
The
I'm not
decision,
sure who made
you don't
that
know who made it and
Yeah.
why, but
Yeah.
Highland Park, when's the last time Highland Park made a payment to the Great Lakes Water Authority?
According to the records, they said the last payment that they received was back in 2021 in April.
Okay, now this is during like a COVID-19 crisis. It
Yeah.
was like a moratorium on different things and
Yeah.
shutoffs.
Yeah.
So it could be something connected to that.
It
But
could be.
Highland Park, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Highland Park has a whole new council, new mayor that was from council, now is the mayor. It's some political changes
That's right.
in how decisions were. But this also seems to be a circumstance oftentimes in majority Black cities where in changes in political leadership, you know, fingers will get pointed at the quote unquote old administration for the responsibility of new administration, and then it kind of rolls downhill where it ends up impacting residents.
That's right.
You know,
That's
so
right.
if I'm a resident and I can show record that I paid,
That's right.
I should still have my water.
Exactly.
That's what I'm most
Exactly.
concerned about.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. No resident should be forced to foot this bill. The residents of Highland Park did not manufacture this bill. They have been faithfully paying. They have kept up with their payments, so no resident should have to carry this burden. Understand that this is something that has been kicked down the road for years. And now that we have a new council, it's now sitting on our laps like a hot piece of coal, and we're forced to deal with it. Okay. So understand that people who have failed to do what they were elected to do, now we have to do it, and everybody is looking at us for a solution to a problem that has spanned it over the last 15 years almost.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. So we are currently trying to weigh any and every option possible to not allow this debt to be placed on the residents of Highland Park. It is unacceptable. I don't care what's going on. Somebody else, mainly the city, should carry this debt, not the residents. I feel like the city should carry this debt, not the residents.
All right, so let's get into some other questions on this. How is water consumption measured in Highland Park?
They have everything is metered, but the largest bulk of our bill, believe it or not, it's not for water. It's for sewage.
Okay, how is that measured?
Okay, so that is currently being guesstimated.
When you say guesstimated, meaning that Great Lakes Water Authority is taking estimates based on what information?
There are no meters in these sewage lines.
Wow.
That's metering what's going on. And since
how do they determine what's old and what's not old?
I have no idea how they are actually determining the price of this, because there are no meters in these lines from what I'm being told. Okay. Now I could be wrong, but what I'm being told is these lines are unmetered. So the bulk of this bill, believe it or not, it's not water, it's sewage, it's drainage, it's runoff.
So this is interesting.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting on a couple different points too. I want to bring out just the fact that if this is the case, this also impacts the whole concept of when things were put in there in those meters. The Great Lakes Water Authority is a relatively new non-government organization. Highland Park, for the longest, I don't know if people know this, I live a stone's throw from Highland Park, like literally, like I walk out and I can look at Highland Park, and not like how what's the name, Sarah Palin can look at Alaska. It's like, no, I really see Highland Park,
right into my district.
Exactly. My neighborhood store could be in Highland Park.
That's right.
So with this being said, Highland Park, I know, for years had its own water department.
That's right.
Emergency management before. I mean, going back from Governor Granholm into Governor Snyder, changed a lot of the layout of things. The water treatment plant in Highland Park has been closed for a while.
That's right.
But it's still an asset.
That's right.
You can drive by it. Right now, it's almost like cool graffiti and all that stuff that I see. But like, off of McNichols, and you can see this facility. It's still an asset as it remains there. So in making the switch in some of these challenges before, which were imposed and impressed upon Highland Park, caused many of these, like what and how. But I bring this up more so to say, like, at what point did the Great Lakes Water Authority assume a role of, I guess, delivering of services to Highland Park, implement any infrastructure changes that you saw, like to put their own sewer line readers or water meters? Have you seen and witnessed any of this infrastructure?
I have not seen or witnessed any of this infrastructure, but there is a very interesting history to that. So back in 2015, our mayor at the time was Mayor DeAndre Wyndham.
Yes.
Okay. And we received money to fix, or well, I should say, to update certain aspects of our water plan, and one of the things that was suggested for the mayor to do was to first to remove the tritium from the water and then replace the pumps and the motors. Okay, but instead of him doing as the engineers instructed him to do, he did it the opposite. He replaced the motors with the tritium in the water. It blew out the motors again. So he decided to simply just shuttle the entire plant. Okay, and he has admitted on tape to shutting down our water plant. He said, "Yes, I shut down the water plant." So this is what started that snowball effect of where Highland Park is right now today. The loss of our water plant took a big blow and a big hit to the city of Highland Park because it was one of our main sources of revenue and income that generated and paid for most of the things in which the city of Highland Park had.
I think it even goes back a little further than that. Just knowing a lot of Highland Park residents that I know about some of the challenges with water. And as we see, just being here in this area, in this footprint, water, as we see, is such an asset that is commoditized.
Yeah.
Let's just use that term.
Oh, yeah. It's more valuable than gold.
So with it, and then even this is back to that other thing of like looking at quote unquote someone from before. And then placing blame on people now.
That's right.
And then it rolls to hit usually the Detroit resident or the Highland Park resident. But let's just be honest. Black folk that now have to deal with the court system that historically has been systemically against us.
That's right.
So I'm not even necessarily going to look at why and what the factors in DeAndre Wendell making the decision that you just shared. We just have to deal with if you assume a position of leadership. If I'm going to step up and say, now I'm your water authority.
That's right.
The onus is on me.
That's right.
To build an infrastructure where I can effectively deliver whatever those bills are. And then also know that our delivery of whatever we deliver to you
is
also reliable and resourceful.
That's right.
And sustainable enough. So now if I deliver a bill, I can stand on this bill. Hence, if they were sitting around, I'm talking about the Great Lakes Water Authority, were sitting around for years. And you don't remember any of these infrastructure. And I want to ask others in Highland Park, when were the storage, made? So those are some key questions that I believe need to be answered in reference to this. With the all-new Highland Park City Council, what relationship was built thus far between the Great Lakes Water Authority and Highland Park?
Thus far, since we have been in office, we have had zero talks with the Great Lakes Water Authority.
So the first interaction was a $24 million bill.
That was the first interaction.
Which that also is kind of like a sleight of hand thing to me too. It would almost be like, let me make it clear for you as a resident. If you moved into a house and you just started renting, and then the next thing you know, a bill came down. Without somebody talking to you, establishing that relationship. So this is the first, as I say, adversarial relationship design.
That's right.
So, and then here's another question. With courts having made their rulings, what do you think will be the next course of action for the state and the Great Lakes Water Authority in the dealings with Highland Park? Additionally, what would be your ideal outcome in this situation, and what steps do you think should be taken to achieve?
My ideal outcome in this particular situation is that with the current council and with assistance from Governor Gretchen Whitmer and with our state rep, Mr. Mike McFall, and our state senator, Miss Chang, and also with Mr. Shree Tanadar as well, if he can come into play as well, and everybody can sit down with their support in front of the Great Lakes Water Authority, I believe that this issue here can be resolved amicably for both sides. Where everybody can walk away from the table, not having lost anything, not having to sacrifice anything. They can get what they need, and the Highland Park can get what it needs, and the city can move forward. Because as long as this debt is looming over our head, it slows the progress up for the city of Highland Park. There are people who want to come into the city of Highland Park and redevelop and invest into this city, and they don't want to do that with a levy of $24 million hanging over our head. So there's got to be a way for the two of us, for the city of Highland Park and for the Great Lakes Water Authority to meet in the middle and come to an understanding. There's got to be a way for that.
Okay. And now, let's see. I want to bounce, and we need to, let's see, I'm bouncing around all this stuff. Okay. All right. So now I want to get to a couple more questions. One proposed solution to address the financial debt of Highland Park involves selling of city assets, such as land and property, to outside entities.
Okay.
However, there are concerns that this approach may not prioritize the benefits of the community and could potentially lead to harmful development and project planning. That doesn't meet the needs of Highland Park. What steps do you think should be taken to ensure that the many assets and the sale of any of these won't happen for the community? What measures can be implemented to avoid this potential negative outcome?
Well, is one thing I know for sure for Highland Parkers. Highland Parkers are fighters. And the idea or the concept of giving up one's assets, that's going to be a non-starter for the residents of Highland Park. Okay. It may be something that we can discuss and maybe put on the table, but I can tell you how Highland Parkers feel right now. That's going to be a non-starter, okay? But there's got to be a way for us to reach an amicable way of solving this particular situation. There's got to be a better way than that, because the idea of being stripped, nobody loves that idea, okay? I mean, even for the city of Detroit, that idea was an unpleasant idea during their bankruptcy.
Well, I can straight up tell you, I as a Detroiter, I feel like this is more of what leads to the apathy of why so many people don't vote.
That's right.
Because, as we say, you have someone in a political position of leadership. Decisions are made, or mistakes are made, or oversight isn't as clear, or whatever. The onus falls on this individual, and then from there, that onus is then shared amongst the residents. Now we're being penalized and stripped away of our resources because of decisions of people that usually aren't even in office anymore.
But see,
and that right there is unfair, unjust, and wrong, especially when we see that the state of Michigan is supplying and providing support for other municipalities.
That's
now,
right.
I don't know what steps places like Ann Arbor are doing to booster their water system and making sure that it's clean and clear of all chemicals. It just looks very nefarious and suspicious, and along the lines of the systemic racism that we speak about consistently in this region, that places like Ann Arbor can be boasted from the state of Michigan. And then oftentimes when we think of all the water crises of Detroit, Flint, Benton Harbor, Highland Park, something is in common. And the thing in common is it got a lot of us. Governor Whitmer, Governor Granholm, Governor Snyder, all of them. You know what I'm saying? And the black politicians too. So it's not even necessarily to even throw stones at them, but the reality of to strip away assets from a municipality from decisions made upon people that aren't even in that decision anymore, that's wrong. Like currently, when we think of the United States of America, and I'm making this macro in an international issue, America has sold billions into now trillions of dollars of bonding capacity, meaning our savings, to the nation of China, the People's Republic of China. So if China came back and started saying, hey, United States of America, let me get the Statue of Liberty. Hey, United States of America, we would like to, you know what I'm saying, start throwing parties in the White House. Go on and let us get that. I'm pretty sure we will be ready to take up arms and go to war with China. We're residents inside the place. Hence the dual realities that W.E.B. Du Bois speaks about in Souls of Black Folks. Like this is wrong, man. This is wrong that it even kind of comes to that. And then especially when I think of like working with organizations like Solidarity that are building unique green energy solar solutions that are key assets in the world right now. You know, and forward thinking for everyone, right? you know, and hence the whole reason it exists is because the way that DTE took the lights before.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, I totally agree with you. Now, you know that I come from that world in which you're currently in. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a new spot now, but I currently come from that world and understand the frustrations of how people feel and why so many people say, "Hey, I'm done voting." Okay.
Mhm.
But this is due to the fact of how we have been governed for so long. Okay. We've been governed in a way that we've been beat down, run down, so discouraged to when somebody that comes to you is actually has a genuine concern about your well-being, you look at that person with suspicion, but the one who's taking advantage of you, oh, that's your friend. See, we have to change the way that we govern and how we do politics, and I'm here to make that change. So when I make decisions and when I do something that I know is going to affect the entire community, I want that community involved. I look to them to see where they want to go as opposed to how I feel they should go. I work for the residents of Highland Park. I will never, ever not take their opinion. If they feel like I'm going in the wrong direction, they can tell me I'm going in the wrong direction. And if you think that I won't shift gears in midstream, I will shift in gears in midstream. If my constituents tell me, hey, this is not the path that we want to go down, I'm going to go down the path that they want me to go down, because the only way that we survive and get people out to actually vote, especially people of color, is if we keep them in the loop and we keep them informed and we keep them attached to our side so that when we make decisions, they're right there with us. I can't do this by myself. I need my community to stand with me and help me do this, or otherwise I'm going to lose. And we're going to lose in that process.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. So that leads us to a couple other questions. Does HP have independent meter reading of the flow, since billing is based on the metering of the Great Lakes Water Authority?
Right. Now that's something I actually have a conversation that I'm about to have about that. So really I can't answer it right now because I don't have an answer for you, So I'm hoping that at least there's something that's going on our side to help us out.
And then last, how much does Highland Park pay annually to the Great Lakes Water Authority, like as they see just moving forward? That question.
As it stands right now, I'm being told that it's about $7 million a year. That's a lot of money for such a small city.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what, 6,000, 7,000 residents?
Yeah. So in order for us to generate that much money, we'd have to be filling our tubs 24/7 and letting it run out into the streets. I mean, that's a lot of money.
And I mean, also, shout out to Monica Lewis Patrick and We the People for all the work they do in reference to water rights and water authority. As we know, water is a human right.
Yeah.
And so many other people that work in this space, but water is a human right. It is necessity.
That's right.
When we think of like the city of Highland Park that has an average income, I think of like about 19,000, not different than Detroit. So to put this type of burden on people, I'm not even doing the math in my head, but 7,000 by 7 million. Like when we do the division, hey, let me just go on and do the quick division.
Yeah.
The quick division of that, so of what you're expecting each resident in Highland Park to pay annually for water. If we just take 7 million, and then I know somebody will say, well, there's businesses in Highland Park too.
Yeah,
but we're talking about residents.
That's right.
So it's like we're looking at about $1,000 a year for each person, which I think could be very excessive if you're only making 19,000. So so this type of burden of responsibility, that's ridiculous when we really look at the scope of what that is, not to mention everyone in that home, you got children and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? So that 1,000, as we talk about that 7,000, if you're in a home with 5 people, that's $5,000.
That's right.
That you're carrying the burden for.
That's right.
Just for your water bill.
That's right.
So that you all can think about it. Because I know somebody's sitting around saying a stack a year for water, that ain't that bad.
Yeah.
But
that's a lot of money.
If you're in a home with 4 people, and yourself, that's 5 people. That's 5 G's.
That's right.
Just to live.
That's right.
In a city like Highland Park. This is ridiculous, especially when we have the largest reservoir of fresh water to the world.
That's right. Can you imagine? Can you imagine spreading 19 million or even spreading 24 million over less than 7,000 residents?
That's ridiculous.
Can you imagine the math
That's
on
like,
that?
I mean, the math on that, I can already tell you if it's like that towards that. I mean, you know, you multiply that times 3, it's about $3,300 per person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Per even child. So now if you got that house of 5 people, that's like 18 G's.
That's right.
Plus
That's right.
maybe 20.
That's right.
20,000. All because the quote unquote burden passes to you. And now you're considering, okay, now we got to sell other city assets.
Exactly. Which is unacceptable for the residents.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just that one there for me. I don't care what anybody said. And I understand that we voted to consider bankruptcy. Okay. We voted to consider that. But I understand that voting to consider bankruptcy comes with the possibility of an emergency manager. But to place a debt like that on the residents, that's going to be a non-starter for me. I'm sorry. I just can't do that one.
I feel you on that. Thank you so much for being the first guest here on Public Comment by Detroit is Different. We're going to kick this thing off every Tuesday. It's going to be more topical issues. Y'all know I love the in-depth back and forth conversation, but now it's time to get a little bit more topical. So with that being said, we're going to close out the way we started off. Check out Public Comment. It's going to be usually Tuesdays at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's right before Detroit City Council has their proceedings around 10. So you can be getting ready while you checking out
revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and
I ain't even got it rolling, but you know, working on all this different stuff. You know what I'm saying? So let's see. We're gonna add this. Detroit communities have faced marginalization, oppression, and prejudice from political, corporate, and media institutions. At times, Detroit community voice is silenced and ignored by those in power. Public Comment provides us a platform to speak out and make our voices heard. By sharing our perspectives and experiences, we can challenge the status quo and bring attention to issues that affect our community. Public comment is especially important in the political arena. Through voting, activism, and advocacy, we can use our voices to push for change. Strengthening our social capital by amplifying community voice builds a structure for any and everything that impacts our community, to begin by starting with collaborating equitably with our community. Public comment is not just about politics. It's about speaking out in all areas of life, from education and healthcare to housing and employment, culture and race, business and opportunity. By sharing our stories and experiences, we can expose the injustices and discrimination that still exists in our society and work towards a more just and equitable future. And when we come together as a community to share our public comments, we can amplify our voices and create real change. We can hold those in power accountable and demand justice and equality for everything we deserve. Welcome to Public Comment by Detroit is Different. Every Tuesday, 7 a.m., live stream.